We come to this place for magic. We come to AMC theaters to laugh, to cry, to care. Because we need that, all of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. And we go somewhere we've never been before. Not just entertained, but somehow reborn. Together. Dazzling images on a huge silver screen. Sound that I can feel. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Our heroes feel like the best part of us. And stories feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are.
Shall we?
Yes, DC Watch is back with our Superman movie review. Yes, DC, baby, DC. That's what this is all about. Ain't that right, Dave?
You got it, Joe.
Chris,
Sir.
my DC brother. I know you're with it, Chris.
Yes, sir.
And Pretty Fly. Or should I call you Zacafly? I forget. But Pretty Fly.
Yeah. How you doing, sir?
Are you ready to talk about your... All right. All right. I knew you were going to do that. You know, are you ready to talk about your favorite DC movie of this year?
Man of Steel? Yeah. No.
That's not this year's movie. Come on.
I'm still living in 2013.
All right. So we have all watched the movie. Pretty Fly was able to watch it twice. We haven't been able to watch it twice yet because we want to get on and talk about the movie. But this is our review. All right. And hope you guys in the comment area will join in on the review. So we see here, let's see who we've got before we go on. We got Trev. Hey, Trev, good to see you. Ken Bird, good to see you too. Naman, the bookworm, good to see you as well. Let's see if we have anybody else new. We have Chuck Kenzie has joined us. Hey, Chuck, good to see you. All right. And we'll say hello to people as they join. If I see you, because I'm going to get so involved in this and I'm going to be yelling a lot at that guy in the corner. I know. So hopefully I'll see you when you join. If not, thank you for joining.
You know what?
Please let us know what you think, especially when you rank on Pretty Fly. It's okay. I'll highlight all of those. Anyway.
There's Joe. There's a
I give
Joe.
you a chance to answer me before we go on because I know I've been ranking on you. Go ahead.
There's a reason why I wore my Dark Side shirt for this show.
Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to start off with a very simple question. All right. And maybe we'll be a little non-spoilery in the beginning if you want, you know, before we get into the more specific things. But let me ask you this question. If you have a friend that comes up to you now and says, hey, should I go see the Superman movie? What's your answer? Dave?
Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, definitely go see it. You know, it'll also depend if you're a Superman fan or not, you know, but if you want a fun, almost, dare I say, zany movie at times, that features a really strong, clear take on Superman, this is the way to go. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of heart. There's some laughs. Now, whether that all comes together for you, that may be a different, question, but give it a shot, check it out, you know, and add to its box office total because I want more DC movies.
That's right. Say, Chris, if you had a friend who was not a comic book guy and he said, hey, should I go see the Superman movie? What would be your answer to him?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I would say see it on the biggest screen possible. Take in all the colors. Take in all the colors, not the dark, dingy Snyder glasses that we've had for the past, so long. The colors burn their eyes. So maybe that's why Fly was having,
maybe Lenny would have. Maybe Lenny would have liked it better if he just wore sunglasses
shades.
through the whole movie.
Yes.
The black Superman suit. That's what he was waiting for.
with
Fly.
my
So Lenny, you're the only one who's seen it twice. So if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, should I go see the Superman movie?" You're gonna have to say yes because you've seen it twice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I will say, yeah, go see the movie because this movie has all the iconography that we know about Superman. The stuff with Snyder, it's just a preference thing. So,
We're not talking about Snyder yet, are we?
Huh? No, I'm just gonna say, like, because people know, like, people assume I'm gonna hate it automatically, but I gave it a shot. But for those who are expecting like a Superman, like, all like the colors, the trunks and all that, and like the more general audience are familiar with about Superman, yes, it's all there. So go see it. You're gonna get what you paid for. So
okay, so James Gunn has been charged by Warner Brothers Discovery with revitalizing basically the DC cinematic universe, right? All right, so now it's DC Studios. This Creature Commandos notwithstanding, all right, this was really, and he believed this was really the first salvo, if you will, in this, So do you think that his first salvo has piqued the interest and basically done what it was supposed to do? I know we still got a lot to go, but over the first weekend, prognostications are pretty good for the box office, which means a lot of people had a lot of anticipation for this movie. The question is, did he accomplish what he wanted to accomplish? What do you guys think?
I think so. Like,
I think he did.
And he did hit it. I think so. For the here's an example. In the very first opening scene of the movie, they had a caption card, or like 3,000 years ago, the first, metahumans, and then I love that part. And he was actually setting up, okay, the Amazonians exist in this world, because like all the ancient civilizations in the DC world, he's setting up, and he even, put the title of Gods and Monsters because this is the phase. So he really did a good job setting up his goal to create the world, the DC Studios world. So I think he did a good job doing that.
Yeah, I agree because in our previous video, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I touched on how the audience would react to the universe already having metahumans. And so when the movie started, I was like, awesome. There's the recap that he's telling everything. So I thought that was very well done by him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that, he set everything up. He introduced the DC universe as a pre-existing thing and just kind of like let it go. And you go or you don't go with it as an audience. But based on what I was seeing, and I think that was one of the things that was really exciting me, is seeing how many people just seem to be excited and really love this film, whether it was kids or adults. People walking out, I want to go see it again. I want to go see it for the third time today. I think story-wise, he set it up, but excitement-wise, I feel like he set up. We'll see, maybe in a month if box office tails off and,
we'll see second
opinion
week.
changes, we'll see. But for right now, it feels like this movie was that shot in the arm that DC and maybe even comic book movies right now needed.
Well, it's been a long time since I've gone to a superhero movie, and at the end of the movie, people cheered and clapped. Yeah, but the interesting thing about this is the anticipation part of this part, is when as we showed in our beginning, the Schuster Superman comes up and he's animated and he breaks the thing up. People started cheering and clapping then before the movie even began. So I think people were really hopeful. And from my standpoint, I think he basically, if it wasn't a home run out of the park, it was an inside the park home run, because he accomplished, I think, what he wanted to accomplish, to set up his DC universe. And, Chris, your question on our prior show, which again I think people should watch because there's good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Was, you know, how are people going to react to already having superheroes? And you're right, he had that beginning that explained that metahumans have been around for you know, since the beginning of time, basically. But more importantly, the way he used the other superheroes, I think it was near almost perfect, because it didn't really it helped the story along, but the story was still about Superman. You know, it was still a Superman story, and that was the part that I think you and even I was a little concerned about with respect to bringing in all these other, you know, superheroes at the same time, and they didn't appear for a while too. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that was a pretty good move on his part. So he's setting the basis. He's got the standards. When Lanterns comes on, when Peacemaker season 2 comes on, these people are going to make some appearances. In fact, there's a rumor that Superman may make an appearance in Peacemaker #2 as well. Yeah. So that was
you know, Joe, what else? You know what else that I haven't seen in a while? Going to Superman, going to comic book movies. I actually had to wait in line to get in to get my tickets scanned. There was a line because there was like a line out the door. That's how crowded it was.
same.
You know,
Same,
like,
but I told my wife, let's get there early. And so I walked right in. We had our things scanned, and we sat down for half an hour in the lobby.
Yeah.
And then when we went to go inside, the line was going out the door.
It was out of the theater. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it felt like back in the old days when we'd like midnight showing, where like we're standing on the sidewalk, you know, talking about, you know, our expectations about the movie. It's like, it felt like that again, you know?
Yeah.
And we were able to fill it at a time where everything's digital. You can just buy your ticket on your phone. It's reserved seatings. You don't have to like fight for seats.
Yeah.
But still, Superman made us wait. And I think that's kind of cool.
All right, so let's dig into the movie a little bit here now. Let's talk about some of the main characters here. And by main characters, I mean 3 main characters: Superman, Lois Lane, and Krypto.
Yeah.
Crypto, yeah.
But I think the 3 main characters are those 3.
Okay.
So what about now? I saw Trev saying that his main problem with the movie was that it was a James Gunn movie.
Oh,
But do you want to talk about that a little bit before we get into the characters, or play it into the characters too? So, you know, was Superman portrayed appropriately by James Gunn? You know, and we can get into a little bit more about James Gunn's approach to the movie. Dave, you look like you're ready to say something.
Well, it was basically about James Gunn's approach to Superman.
Yeah.
Which I think he got him right. Don't get me wrong. But it was a little bit different than what I've seen before, in the sense that, okay, let's not to reference too many other things, but Superman the movie. And Joe, I know you've talked about this. Superman really is 3 different elements. He's Superman, you know, sort of the uniform for justice. Clark Kent, the mild-mannered reporter, which is a disguise. And then there's Clark from the farm, you know, who, when he's not Superman, he's not pretending to be like a mild-mannered or bumbling reporter, who's his authentic self. Those 3 different variations.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Christopher Reeve films, you know, one of his first lines, Superman's first lines in this movie was, "Golly." And I'm like, that's a line that would be said by Clark Kent, the mild-mannered reporter, as a disguise. You know, that's not necessarily who he really is, but it's swell and things like that. That's sort of part of his disguise. That was part of who Superman was in this film, which was a little different. The fact that Superman is that unabashedly, corny has a negative connotation, but almost that, you know, like, golly, and what the hey, Krypto, you know, like that kind of stuff.
I agree with you. And I think part of it was, you know, when he was actually Clark Kent, he was a little disheveled and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't really, the voice was not that dramatically different, right? At least to me. And it seemed to me that he had a little bit more, I don't know, masculinity or something than Clark usually does, you know, with respect to that.
For good or ill, Clark Kent, the mild-mannered reporter, just wasn't in this movie very much.
Right.
No.
You know?
Not much at all.
No.
Not much at all. Which,
you know, I kind of missed. I wanted to see a little bit more of that, honestly. And maybe that's going to get to one of Lenny's points that this is a 2-hour film. I'd have been fine if it were 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'd have been fine if it were 2 hours and 20 minutes. I wouldn't have minded a little more. But I mean, I don't know that I've ever gone to a Superman film where he's just Superman in his Superman costume for nearly the entire film.
Yeah.
Agreed. That was something that was lacking, I think,
Hmm.
in the movie. Was there was not enough Clark Kent, I think. And as we've discussed in the past, and I agree with your statement that, you know, the Clark at the farm is kind of the essence of who he really is.
Yeah.
But Clark Kent is kind of the next step from that, you know, and to me, that's an important part of Superman, you know, is his person part. And that's some of that, you know, except, you know, he's along with Lois. He says, you know, you can interview me, right? Because he was he was doing his own interviews with himself. He said, you can interview me. And so he was Clark for a very short period of time and then suddenly became Superman. You know?
Yeah.
So, Lenny, what do you think?
Who, me? Or
Lenny.
Oh,
No, the other Lenny.
Lenny or this Lenny?
Your
Where'd he
name
go?
was
Where'd he go?
Who is that?
Respond when their name is mentioned.
This is Lenny. This is Pretty Fly. But the thing with Gunn for me though, and I don't want to speak for Trev, but I think my issue with Gunn is the tone of the whole movie, where a lot of like some good dramatic elements were undercut. You know, hey, let's bring crypto in. We'll get to what I mean later on. Yeah. And you know, and the pacing and the humor is like the stuff that I've seen in Guardians that work well in Guardians, but I don't think it worked in Superman. You know, like you know, for example, like it worked. A lot of like the caricatures of the actors in the movie were like, you know, that stuff works in the Guardians thing because a lot of the characters have like they're aliens, they're CG, they're animals, so they have to like overact to convey emotions. But when they're just, you know, civilians in the Superman world, they just seem like caricatures to me. They don't seem real, you know. And I think that's where a lot of the James Gunnism fell flat for me. It's like it works for Guardians, but not so much in a Superman aspect.
Chris, what do you think about that?
Well, I guess the way that I look at it, and I am not bashing Snyder by no means, Fly. If say not the diehard fans, kind of like we are, say your casual people, your video game people, and then just your movie watchers. What they've got in Superman is Injustice Superman, and then they get the dark Snyder take on Superman. And I really enjoyed the lighter tone that we're having now that we've not really, you know, got to see. I'm not saying he is comic book accurate, but it's more to me how Clark would be in the comics, and I enjoyed that.
Right.
But again, Gunn did miss some stuff too. I got to agree with Lenny. There's part of it you're just like, that did work for Marvel. I don't really.
Yeah. Here's a good example, Chris. Here's a really good example. Sorry, I know Jerry about to say something, but just to stick with this part, in Guardians 2, I believe, because I've only seen those movies a few times. He had like a whole team of people fighting like this like space battle. There's like a space battle, right? And a bunch of like gold people were like controlling like drones. I don't know if you guys remember what I'm talking about. He tried doing that in this movie with Lex's team, Superman. And that felt kind of awkward because you make him punch with his left hand and he's gonna like call out like a code for it, and you're gonna kick with his right leg, and then he runs to that person that apparently controls Ultraman's right leg. And I was like, that's like breaking the flow of the movie for me, and then the pace.
I like that part.
I really like that.
Yeah,
part.
I know you guys like it, but I'm just saying like that didn't work for me because it seemed. I know you guys don't mind a little bit of the Silver Age take on this, but
I didn't even view it Silver Age at all with that.
Neither did I.
Honestly,
well, I found. I mean, couldn't Lex just have like a PlayStation control and control Ultraman? Really, like,
Yeah, but that made it much more dramatic because he had a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people
Yes.
there. I mean,
I
that
know,
was the
but
whole point of that.
I
That
know,
was
but
like a director behind the scenes on
Yeah.
a big television thing, like, okay, cut to camera A, cut to camera.
Yeah.
And
I know,
you
but
know
I
that
was
better
just
than
so
anyone,
annoyed
Lenny.
by that because it kept taking me out of the fight. Just
Oh,
because
yeah.
they had to bring him back to Lex to be able to say something, and then go back now to the fight to see the order transferred to Ultraman, and it
But that
just
was the point, I think.
One of the
maybe,
criticisms
but
of
I just wasn't into it.
one of the criticisms of the film is that Superman got his butt kicked a lot.
Mhm.
And I know it felt like at the beginning they tried to undercut that with like Superman has never lost a fight until
Yeah,
now.
now I
And
like
then they
that. I
just,
like that.
yeah, and that was fine. But that made it plausible to me.
Mhm.
You know, like that you've got this uber genius with a team working a character who's seems to be equally as powerful as Superman, and this is why he's winning because he's got this incredible amount of tech support, I guess. You know, so I actually was fine with
Yeah.
that. Some of the other Gunn stuff, you know, this is a James Gunn film.
Yeah,
That means you get a lot of great things with that, but sometimes you might get
you get some
things
baggage that right.
that you may not like. I've heard people characterize this film as brilliant, their favorite Superman film, and other people like this was an overstuffed mess. And I'm like, I can't argue with either of you because it
No.
depends on how you see it, how you feel it.
Mhm.
And like, I don't have a problem with, and that's James Gunn. He puts a lot in there. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of humor. Whether you think it balances or works, that's your taste, you know?
A
So,
couple of things I want to bring up based on what said and what Trev is saying here, you know. What you have to remember is he's been Superman for 3 years, right? And even if you look back at some other characterizations of Superman, and go back even to 1938 in the original Superman, and he didn't fly, he got beat, you know, he had to leap. And I mean, the powers, becoming godlike or Zack Snyder like, whatever you want to call it, in terms of that, is something that happens to him as he matures. You know, I mean, that's even been brought out in the comic books in that way. So the original, you know, originally he was not as strong. You know, if you look at now remember, All-Star Superman was, at least some of that was the basis of the storyline. And he becomes stronger when he goes through the sun. And you see when his bones are broken and they're reforming, he's actually feeling the pain, you know, of the reformation. But it was the sunlight that was getting him back to where he needed to be. So I understood. My wife even said, "Why is he getting beat up so much? I thought he was Superman." Yeah, but he's not the Superman you're thinking he is, at least not yet. So that was something that might have been lost on a lot of people. Second thing, go ahead. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you know, like Zach did that too in Man of Steel, where like he was just a farm boy, and then Zod's power was growing, and he's way more skillful in battle than Clark. So he had no choice. But all right, this guy is starting to beat me, so he just, you know. So I mean, even Zach, he understood that there's progression in how strong Superman is going to be, and that's also my defense.
Zack Snyder now. I'm talking about Superman movie.
No, I'm just saying I'm trying
to go to what Trev had to say, that he got beat up a lot, and what my wife had to say, and I'm trying to say that's the reason why, which maybe is lost on some other people. But the second thing I wanted to say about Gunn is, you know, and I'll call it almost like Marvelous quips, you know, all the little like joke type of things that they put in.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay generally with it, but I thought he could have done with 50% less.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
For example, when Superman gets beaten, he's in the street or whatever, and Mr. Terrific tells him, you know, "Hey, come on, get up." And he goes, "You know, you got to get this thing done." He goes, "I am doing important things." And he falls up. That was gratuitous to me. You know, I mean, there are things like that. Maybe if that was the only one for like 10 minutes, that might have been okay. But I thought there was just too many of them. And I think that, to me, Lenny, like you talked about, you know, Luther going to each person saying, you know, A1 and all stuff like that. That to me became distracting because I almost was waiting for the next quip to come up with respect to that. So those were the two things to me. And the third thing that was problematic to me, and listen, I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff we liked about the movie, you know, but the third thing, I thought it was almost like, and I'd like to know what you guys what you think about this, and then I want to go back to Lois Lane. But it was almost like, I was going to say episodes of a TV show, but it was more like almost individual issues of Superman comic books. The different scenes sometimes didn't really kind of work to me, going from one to the other. I mean, eventually it kind of did because the story moved along, but it was somewhat disjointed, it seemed to me at times. So the storyline was not perhaps as good or as fluid as I would have liked to have seen. At least that's the way it hit me.
I think this
once.
yeah, same. I think that's where the criticism of there felt like there was too much jammed into this film comes into play. And I'm not going to kill it for that, especially only seeing it once, but there was a lot. It jumped back and forth at times. Like Crypto disappeared from the film. I felt like Lois disappeared for a little while. You know, there was that. The pacing was solid. I don't know that it was spectacular. And going back to Superman getting beat up, one of the comparisons this film has gotten is a lot to the Superman animated series, where they made a conscious choice to depower Superman.
Right.
So his challenges were, you know, more dramatic. If you can beat anybody easily, it doesn't make for a very compelling story. And I want to say, not just that choice, but the way this movie went, the comparison is to that show. And I agree with it. The negative for that, and we may get into this, call it an exciting film, fun film, whatever kind of film, I did not feel it was an epic film. Hey, Tina.
No.
I didn't. This was not an epic. It did not feel epic. It didn't. It just wasn't. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, when people are like, it feels like a comic book, well, sometimes I go to a big $250 million budget movie.
You pay money.
To see a big epic, you know, and that was not this film in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously,
don't you think it was more like a pilot almost? I mean, it's a movie, all right? Sure. But it was almost done as a pilot for a TV series, because he did this as a pilot for the new DCU. And I think that's why he did what he did with respect to this. And so it wasn't epic, Trev, you're right. I mean, and Dave, I agree. You know, it doesn't go to 10 out of 10 or even 9 out of 10 category, but it was solid for what it needed to do. And it had Gunnerisms, if you want to call it that, with respect to it. But you have to, as you said, Dave, you have to live with that if you want the good stuff that comes out of that as well.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, back to what you said, Dave, about people, one of the main criticisms of this movie is that it feels packed. And that's because James didn't let this movie any time to breathe. Like this, I think this movie would have even helped tacking another 30 minutes into it. Yeah. You know, like one of the things, even on my second watch, I really cringe when, I guess we're going spoilers now.
Okay,
right? Go. When it was revealed that the Kryptonian, his Kryptonian parents, the elves, were actually Viltrumites, or I guess
same thing I thought.
Or Trev. Trev, I'm glad you're here because I'm going to make this reference. They made the Kryptonians Saiyans. All right, it's a Dragon Ball reference. But my point though is that once that was revealed, everybody hated Superman immediately, like 5 seconds later.
I know, right?
He just saved your ass from this kaiju. I mean, like, you know, like I'm sure in other movies they would have spread it out. There would have been a debate built, like.
But that's today, Lenny. That's today with all of the stuff online.
Hot takes.
People hear stuff. I got people telling me stuff that I know isn't true. You know, and I have to dig it out to tell them, no, here's what really happened.
It's true.
You know, I get stuff from people saying, look what happened on the streets of London. I go, no, that didn't happen. Somebody just put it together to get clicks. With Luther there, you know, and I want to talk about Luther as well. But with Luther there, I mean, he's the amazing person. So he was able to orchestrate all of this, and people are there. I mean, think about it. If you think that there's someone who's your hero, and then you find out that he's out there to basically make you a slave or something like that, you know, enslave you, you're going to at least step back a little bit, like the people did in the
I
street.
know, but it was so immediate for me. It was jarring. And you know what else is today, Joe? People, you're gonna have one side who's for getting rid of Superman, and you're gonna have another side that will defend Superman. People that were saved by Superman. Even today, even
Polarization.
us, like we're still like battling over our versions of Superman. And I think that would have been a good commentary of where we're at as Superman fans, because. But my point though is that he could have like added a little bit there to let it breathe and ramp up to where everybody then hates Superman. But at least
Well, but there was some of that, right? Wasn't that, what was the name of the guy that Luthor eventually killed? Didn't he like stand up for Superman and went to help him out?
No, but he was Lex already had him by that time. There was nothing. I'm telling you, it was so jarring for me that, and what's even jarring, when everything was revealed that Lex was behind it all, everybody was then. I mean, of all the things in a time where videos can be doctored, altered, and here it was just a voiceover that Lex could have manipulated, and everybody took his word like, oh, it's legit. Oh, it's legit. Even Mr. Terrific, like I would have thought that he would do his own investigation, well, but nope, my guys, I know those guys and they're legit. I'm like,
Rick Flag Sr., the same thing. And I think they kind of wanted to pound that home that everybody looked at it. It's been authenticated. We didn't really see that, but they wanted us getting it from enough different sources to verify
like,
that yes,
a little
accurate.
1 minute scene would have like, like
I hear you.
Mr. Terrific already looked into it. I can't believe it, but
they just moved
true.
quickly beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little quick. Now there is some stuff going on, Chris, online where they're saying they're asking each other. I did a bunch of like online reading, this stuff. They're saying, did Lex doctor that? We don't really know, even though you had all the stuff that's there.
Yeah.
So Chris, I mean, how did you take that when that happened?
I'm kind of like Lenny. Superman's out there with the Justice Gang, cool name, and he just beats Baby Godzilla. I mean, he just beats this in front of all these people, and still they turned. And I'm like, you just saw what this guy did, and now all of a sudden you're hearing this that couldn't even, you don't even know if it's true or not,
right?
And now you hate him. It's like, come on now. Yeah, I did not agree with that at all. And
Chris, you know why this hits me hard? Because I had the same problem with Batman. Batman Rises with Bane. He just read Gordon's letter, and then everything that was done to bring him into prison. Well, all right, let's let him out. Chaos ensued because of this one letter.
Yes.
Bane could have forged that letter, but no one questioned it. So I guess now when I saw this in Superman, I was like, oh, it's Batman Rises again.
I wish we'd had a 30-minute scene where they authenticate the letter. I mean, that'd be riveting movie.
Lenny might have given it a really
Batman
big rating.
Batman goes to the Notary Republic, gets some
exactly.
All right, Rachel Brosnahan, Lois Lane.
Terrific.
I think she did a great job, but I think she was shortchanged, man. I wanted to see more of her.
Yeah, she was a reporter. I like that. She was wanting to. I mean, even when she interviewed Clark / Superman, she was pulling no punches, and it was pissing him off. And she's like, "This is what I would ask Superman." I mean, because that is what Lois does. If Lois is going to sit down and interview any metahuman, she is going to get to the meat and potatoes of it. Real. She's not going to, pussyfoot around. She's going to ask the hard questions. And I'm like, that's Lois Lane. I like that. She done very well.
How about when she says, but you're the one being interviewed, Superman.
Yes. And the chemistry with her and David was like amazing. Those two, that I enjoyed that. Yeah. What'd you think, Lenny?
I want to see more of Grant, but
she was. I think she's going to be featured in the next Superman movie.
Okay, all right. I'm buying my ticket now. Then. But we've watched a lot of this movie prior to coming out because of the trailers, interviews, and whatnot. And what really drew me to this movie was the whole. Actually, it's funny. Everything that I dreaded from the trailers and knowing about the movie was actually some of the stuff I like. And one of them is when I heard that this scene is going to be 10 minutes long, and be like, are you kidding me? Like a 10-minute scene in their living room, and then I saw the trailer. Okay, see some potential, but when I actually saw the movie, it's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Just
It's a great scene.
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
And even that, it's kind of funny because we were just talking about how there's no progression and it just happened like that. Their argument went from very romantic, and it progressed through the whole conversation into where Clark is storming out, and then even the most subtle thing where Lois said, "I knew this wasn't going to work." Is she talking about the conversation, the interview, or the relationship? That's the stuff that's the stuff that I really like over, not just the punching and all the references and all that. It's just that human. And that's the thing I told you, Dave, like when Gunn really wants to be like in there, he can do it. It's just that a lot of the Gunnisms get in his way, and but I don't want to get in any more of that. But that scene, mwah, I could do everything else, get rid of everything else. And in contrast, right? Sorry, Joe. And in contrast, they had another scene similar to that later on, but I got distracted with the Justice Gang fighting in the background. I'm like, come on, dude! Like, I don't know whether to laugh or really be, emotionally in this scene, because there's like, oh, Guy Gardner is hitting this thing, mix of spit lick with a Green Lantern bat, and I was like,
Pretty Fly, you've been living in LA too long.
I know, I'm a softie.
I know.
Yeah, everybody in LA comes out softie. So,
yeah. Dave, what do you think about? I know you liked Rachel Brosnahan, right, as Lois and all that.
She's fantastic. Yeah, it was a great representation of that character, the journalist, like Chris was saying, and Lenny, talking about that. They also made her a woman of action in this film, like that she.
That's Lois.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great depiction of her, and up until I want to say this film, I've liked many Loises. Probably Erica Durance from Smallville was my favorite, and I put this. She's right up there. I mean, considering it was a 2-hour movie compared to a series, that's pretty remarkable. She was fantastic, perfectly cast, well written. I forget who said it. There were times when she disappeared for a while and her absence was felt. But it is a Superman film, and there are certain times when it has to focus solely on him, especially when he's away in a pocket universe. But yeah, she was fantastic. And I don't know.
Pretty Fly, that was not the Lois from the Silver Age. Okay. If anything, it was Lois from the Golden Age Fleischer cartoons. I still remember with the third one with the runaway train. She's sitting down there and she gets the Tommy gun and she's shooting at these guys back in 1941.
Joe,
I mean, that's the Lois. She's not taking any kind of crap from anybody, and she's going to do what she needs to do, what she did in this film, with Mr. Terrific to help, save Superman.
Well, Joe, that Lois, and I'm not going to say Amy Adams, don't worry, but I can't think of her name, but the Lois from Superman and Lois also jive with
Bitsy Tulloch.
What's her name?
Bitsy Tulloch, Elizabeth Tulloch.
Yeah. She was she really went after Clark and calls him out too with his parenting and all that stuff.
She's great too.
Yeah, so I want to give her flowers as well because that's the type of Lois that I do like, and I've seen it with Brosnahan and Tulloch.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah, let's not forget her.
Please. No, good point.
So what about Luthor? How do you rank him with the other Luthers?
Dave, we'll let you start this.
Here's the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, Dave. You hit it. Boom. I thought he was great. I mean, I love several incarnations. Hackman is just a ton of fun in Superman the movie and Superman 2. Michael Rosenbaum, my goodness. Yeah. I mean, he had 7 years on Smallville, and did he make that part his own?
Yes.
Definitely.
And
now a lot of credit goes to the writers and the other creatives as well. But Michael Rosenbaum was fantastic. Yeah. This Luthor was a different take It felt like he was all the Luthers rolled into one. He was the Silver Age mad scientist. He was the 80s Man of Steel, John Byrne reboot businessman. He was everything. This guy, in my opinion, was way more powerful than Superman when you think about it.
Yeah.
This guy created a pocket universe. Spoiler alert, created a clone, a super
Spoiler
clone.
alert.
Spoiler alert. What else did he do? I had it all down in my head before we started talking. I mean,
Dave, when you say
he
off the
created a
record, do it
kaiju,
off the
created a
record. First, say
kaiju.
off the record first, and then say.
Like what couldn't this guy do? Like he thought to use Metamorpho in the way that he used him. Like he was everything. Like he was like godlike in his brilliance and in his resources. I'm like, this guy has to be a trillionaire if he can fund all of this stuff, you know. But he was played. Nicholas Hoult did a fantastic job. He was a malevolent SOB you wanted to see get his in the end. You know, he was a horrible person. And, you know, this wasn't the Michael Rosenbaum gradually breaking bad over multiple seasons. This is just, you hate this guy from frame one to the final frame. And he did a great job with it.
I just have one comment on it because I agree with everything you said, Dave. You know, and I still see some of this being written where they're saying, well, he wanted to get Superman out of the fight in, what was it, Arabia, whatever the name of the two.
Moravia.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the point. If you read All-Star Superman, he comes out with a statement, you know, that Luthor does in All-Star Superman, where he says, once you showed up, humankind stepped back. You started doing everything for them. You are hurting humankind. That's why I want to get rid of you. You know, and he even said, I don't care about those countries and all that stuff like that. He says, I could buy that anytime I want. He says, it's the fact that you are hurting the evolution of the human being because we see you and everybody relies on you now instead of doing stuff for himself. And he did stuff himself, you know. And the other thing too that I want to address, Dave, where you said he was more powerful than Superman. If you remember in All-Star Superman, Luthor kept on working out, and when Clark goes into him, he says, "That's like real muscle, not that alien,
not yellow sun and Kryptonian DNA."
So here, the real muscle ended up being all the tech stuff and everything he did. I think that was the way I saw that. Is he used that All-Star Superman scene, but had it not being working out, you know, because he wasn't in jail, but having it being like all the stuff he was able to do,
it
you know, with his money and his tech
character.
and all that.
Yeah. Tristan Lenny, what do you think?
Yeah.
You first, Chris.
All right. You go first. Lex was hit and miss with me.
Yes. Finally, someone agrees with me.
I at times Jesse Eisenberg was coming out, and I didn't like it because I was not a fan of him as Lex at all. At times when he was just getting so anal, I don't know, just the tone of his voice, the way he was going, his mannerisms, I was like, this is not Lex. To me. I didn't like that Lex cried. Towards the end, I'm like, Lex would not cry in front of Superman. You know, Michael Cutlet's like killed me because his portrayal of that Lex, I loved it. I mean, it was just, I don't know. To me, that's the Lex I want to see. But then in my head, I'm like, okay, this is 3 years. Okay, so this is still technically a young Lex. So I mean, I get that. It seemed like when Clark or Superman made the obsession that you have with me is, you know, it did seem like he was obsessed, seemed like he was jealous of him. And I get it, which caused him to do what he had to do. But Lex was just hit and miss. There was signs of brilliance, I thought, which I liked. But then I don't know. It didn't play well for me. That's just my take.
Interesting.
Lenny?
Well, I'm not going to try and sell you guys to Jesse Eisenberg's Luthor because he's a tough
worst
sell.
Lex ever.
Yeah, but I do love his Lex. I will say this. I will give you guys this one though. I will. My favorite depiction of Lex movie-wise is actually Obadiah Stane from Iron Man 1. Jeff Bridges' character. For me, like, because the reason why I say it because he was just angry all the time. He wasn't like. He was actually trying to befriend Tony Stark, but deep in mind, he's trying to take over, you know, like, and then you see it as the movie played out. And the only time that he broke his demeanor when he got like annoyed by his main scientist, like Tony Stark built this in a cave.
In a cave.
You know, and that makes sense. Like, why can't you guys pull what he pulled off with all your scientific? But again, I digress. But I'm just saying, like, I wanted to see more. Like, I guess I'm saying that Nicholas Holt's Lex is a little bit one note for me. And I did have that concern coming in based on the trailers, because he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill your wife. I'm gonna kill your parents." I mean, like, that seemed a little bit on the nose dialogue, especially for someone who's a really good actor like Nicholas Hoult. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about Lex.
I can't believe I agree with Lenny.
Oh my god!
It's because I used a Marvel character.
I think you did. It put me in a bad mood. I'm like, really?
Because I know I can't sell you guys on Jesse Eisenberg's Lex.
What about Crypto?
Such a good
I have
dog.
to tell you that
Such a
some
bad
people, again in the online were saying that the only reason they went to see the movie was because of Crypto. And I do know there were a couple of scenes that were cut where Crypto in the fortress, when he's fighting the engineer, there's a longer fight scene and Crypto gets beat up badly, and it didn't show well in the previews, so they took it out. And I think also in the Pocket Dimension, Ultraman had done some similar type of stuff, torturing Crypto, and they cut that out as well. But Crypto was a big star here.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that my wife asked my wife for her kind of 1 minute review of the movie. And as I mentioned earlier, she thought, why is he getting beat up so much? He's Superman. Then this morning, I showed her a video of that was online with Crypto sleeping like on a ledge, and he's sleeping, snoring, and he falls off the ledge, but he just floats. I said, hey, look, he's not going to fall to the floor. And she said, oh, and I said, yeah, Crypto is just CGI. She goes, what? She goes, the whole thing? I said, yeah. So she looked at me, she goes, I really like that movie, but now that you told me that, it just ruined the whole thing for me.
Oh, no.
So Crypto was a big star and a big part of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Chris?
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, such a good dog, such a bad dog.
Yeah.
I got tickled. He was just a pup. And I guess if it was the real world and a pup did have these superpowers, that's how he's going to act. So, I mean, when destroying the fortress, I'm just like, yes, that is what a puppy would do, because we've had our fair share of puppies, and you come home and it's like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah, I know.
So, so I took that to heart. I'm like, yes, a superpowered dog would do something like that. So I did enjoy Crypto.
Mm-hmm. Pretty Fly, I bet you didn't like Crypto.
Well, I'm not a dog owner, so but I mean, it's not that I didn't like him. I didn't like how he was used. I didn't like how he was used. Like, he'd be gone, but then he'd come in when Superman needs him to be saved, or he comes in as a joke, or even like, oh man, the biggest sin for me was that at the end, Superman and Lex had like this face-to-face conversation. And this is where that line, Joe, that you really love, like, my biggest strength is, all that line was beautiful. And Lex, he said his thing, oh, it doesn't matter because I was hired to kill you and all that. And he was going to do his thing. But then, whoop, that whole thing ends because Crypto swoops in and, ragdolls Lex all over the office. And I'm like, oh, dude, they were going somewhere with that. Again, that's another Gunnism, right? But I'm like, one more thing I want to bring up too. I don't know, years ago when The Rock was trying to like take over DC and all that, and James Gunn was assigned to write Superman, and James Gunn was like, no, I can't do it. I can't write Superman. I don't know how. I can't break his code. And then he adopted his dog. I heard this in an interview. Once he adopted his dog, then the movie clicked for him. And I could see that now watching this movie, because that dog means so much to James Gunn, that that care for crypto transferred to the movie, and I kind of appreciate that, especially when crypto was playing with the cows and and all that stuff. So I thought it was adorable. It's just that the way he was used sometimes kind of threw me off. So I didn't really hate crypto. It's just like I just didn't like how he was used in certain scenes.
Well, right quick, when you talked about when he attacked Lex, to me that was showing the relationship with Superman and Crypto, because Lex threatened him, and when the finger got at him, then Crypto was like, I have to protect my buddy, so he attacked Lex. And I'm like, that's the way that I took it.
I know
That's
that,
what a dog would do.
but then
Yeah,
it's not
100%.
consistent because Ultraman was beating the crap out of him, and spoiler again, and he had to whistle while Crypto was in I guess they did it for a Milkbone ad placement, but he was in a pet shop eating dog biscuits. So I don't
Dogs
know,
get
dude.
hungry.
I mean,
They
I
do.
guess so.
Dogs get hungry.
I guess
They
so.
do. Crypto was a scene stealer. He was a lot of fun. He was a scene stealer, as was Jimmy Olsen.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun with Jimmy in this movie. At first, it felt like he was pretty inconsequential, and then
Yeah.
as the movie went along, I'm like, "Oh no, that's not true anymore," and I'm liking this.
Yeah.
So
The fact that he's a ladies' man is what like.
I did
Yeah,
not
I'll just-
get that. Why was he
it
a
was
ladies'
great.
man? Was he just because?
they ask him, "How do you do it, Jimmy?" And he just shrugs his.
he had
shoulders,
no
you know?
idea. He just
I
has
guess
sort of
so,
this
'cause I'm like, you had
inexplicable
David
magnetism.
Cornsweat next to your in a cubicle across the hall or the aisle from you, and they're going after him.
Yeah, but it's Clark Kent.
I guess his glasses. They're like, I want to make you guys.
Hypno glasses.
I'm
Hypno
gonna make you look.
glasses.
I'm gonna make myself look ugly with my glasses.
It was fun.
I thought it was a fun. He ended up being an important character in the
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and it was kind of fun the way he did, kind of his interplay with Tess.
Very.
That's
You
my
know,
favorite.
it was
Whole
kind of
weekend,
fun.
huh?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
It's like he wanted to help Superman, but he didn't want to do that.
Exactly.
See, now that was a comedic part, which was
Yeah.
fun.
It
Yeah,
worked.
Yeah, because it
And
worked.
I
Yeah.
think if he was more selective, instead of throwing in some of these, like a couple of one-liners are fine, But you remember some of the Avengers and the Marvel stuff at the end were really turning me off because everybody was
Tony
capable
Stark.
of all these quips. Not everybody can do that. I mean, and it's like
Everybody was
if
Robert
you're a
Downey Jr.
hero in Marvel land, you know how to give these one-liners back to people and all of that, So to me, that's the one part. I'm bringing that up again. I don't want to repeat myself, but that's the one part where I think it was a failing on his part. I don't. I mean, that's the way he does things. So, but I think if he just stepped back, that would be better because that one thing with Jimmy Olsen was perfect.
Yeah, because that was organic. Like you understood Jimmy not wanting to be with Tessmacher, but he had to because he wanted. That was his part of his sacrificial was to really earn all that information off of Tessmacher. But what wasn't organic was I'm gonna open my Mr. Terrific's gonna open his garage and it goes
Yeah, Mr. Terrific.
in my viewing that was crickets. That part
Yeah.
was crickets.
Mm-hmm.
Where the garage door was opening and the payoff was like you have this UFO but your garage is
That
opening.
was almost like a Family Guy joke, honestly.
Yeah. So it wasn't organic. Like, I mean, why wouldn't Mr. Terrific he would have a force field, not a garage door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Maybe
But
he had a
speaking
force
of the-
field behind the garage door, Lenny.
Speaking of the Justice Gang,
Yes,
Mr.
Justice
Terrific-
Gang next.
Mr. Terrific was awesome.
Yes,
Guy Gardner
awesome.
was fantastic. I thought and I like Hot Girl as a character, and she's the one character I thought she got gunned. And what I mean by that is where he takes an existing character, throws out all their backstory, and just makes them what he wants them to be. He did that with Vigilante and Peacemaker, and he did that with. It felt like he did it with Hot Girl in this movie. She was still cool, but she didn't really feel like the hot girl of the comics or anything else to me. But Guy Gardner did, and Mr. Terrific did in the best possible way.
Yeah, she didn't have a very big part either. I mean, that was the thing. Yeah.
actually,
She was fine in the role, but it was
I-
just written differently.
I know it could be annoying, but I like her screech every time, her hawk, because Hawks do that when they do a dive bomb, for to get their prey.
See, I didn't like that. It aggravated me.
I know, and I could see that. I could see that, but I
Oh.
was like, okay, that's interesting. But what another sin that Gunn did was, with all the talk of Superman trying to like imbue his goodness to the team, what does Hawkgirl do? Spoilers, right? She grabs a world leader and just
Drops him.
to his death.
She technically said, "I'm not Superman."
Yeah.
I know, but then the whole thing about Superman
Yeah.
trying to show his goodness and that there are better
Baby
ways.
steps, Lenny. Baby steps.
I know,
It's
but
only
like,
year 3.
like I said in the
Justice
previous,
League
like,
International.
I know, but
Max
like I
Lord.
said in the previous video, I was so sold in what James Gunn said about this movie, that he wants to show Superman's goodness in a world that doesn't value goodness.
Right,
And that's
how
why I like
Hawkgirl
the
showed it.
kaiju scene, because like Superman wanted to move. He didn't want to kill the kaiju, but
Yeah.
Mr. Terrific's like, you know what? Let's just feed him some explosive spheres and we're done.
Yeah.
And in fact, it almost killed people because the kaiju like fell on his back
Fell.
and Superman had to like catch him.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, okay, now he's getting into it. But that was it of that in that scene, and I was like, I was kind of disappointed.
So what about Guy Gardner in this thing? Do you think he was? I mean, the part he played and the stuff. Do you think that was good? Did he play the part well? Did he have enough to say or not enough? Or
He was one of those
ahead,
things. Sorry. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to say that was one thing I was about to bring up, is when Guy Gardner stepped to Superman, and I'm like,
Bring it
Guy
on,
Gardner
Big Blue.
would not step up to Superman. I'm like, where's? I mean,
nose.
yeah, that one I didn't like either, because he's like, make you move, Big Blue, and I'm like, dude.
Actually,
Come on
Guy
now.
Gardner would do that.
Maybe
not Hal Jordan, maybe not Jon Stewart, but
that I didn't like. But again, it's it's still early into it. It's not the Superman that we know. But yeah, Nathan Fillion, I loved him as Guy. I mean,
fantastic.
Everything that he did was that was awesome. Would love to see more of him.
Like I said before, like there were some things in this movie when I saw in the trailers I did not like, but then when I watched the movie, I love it. And one of them was Guy Gardner. Like, I could see he was going to be annoying based on the trailers and the middle finger, Green Lantern. But then when like he was really Superman's friend.
Yeah.
It so much so that he actually changed his mind about how he did things and went to the other country, whatever. Yeah.
They
so
got
I
involved.
really like
stayed out of
Guy
it the
Gardner.
first time. They got involved this time.
Two great scenes with Guy Gardner, I think.
Yeah, especially with Rex. Ooh.
Well,
talk about Rex.
Okay, that was one of them. But with Guy Gardner, the first one is when Lois is trying to get the Justice Gang to help save Superman, and they basically flip him off, and Lois makes fun of his bowl haircut.
Yeah.
That was funny.
And the second one was at the end of the movie with Metamorpho, Rex Mason there, and with the Hawkgirl, someone says maybe you should join the Justice Gang. Yeah. And so Guy says, nah, you look at him, we have enough crazy looking people and all that. And Rex says, oh, Justice Gang, that sounds good. He goes, oh, you're in.
You're in.
During the movie,
that played into his ego. That was perfect.
He wanted the Justice Gang to be the name, and Kendra and Mr. Rick kept saying, no, stupid name.
Trev.
So he thought, okay, now I got it's 2-2,
Yeah.
Yes, I see Trev saying organic comedy. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Like Rex, or he agreed because what Rex said played to his ego, and that worked. That's perfect. Yeah. Chef kiss comedy.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess maybe we should just talk about what we feel generally the movie would be if we want to give it a rating and stuff like that. Any other stuff? I mean, that's kind of all that I came up with in my head, for the hour. But I mean, there's a lot more we could talk about. But does anybody have any other parts of the movie?
Can we talk about one more thing? Huh? I'm sorry, say it again.
Does anybody else want to have any other part of the movie that they want to comment on or talk about?
I do. Let's talk about what the Switch making Clark's parents evil.
Vulture-Bots.
Kryptonian parents. Sorry, yeah. Thank you, Dave. Yeah. How do you guys feel about that?
I have mixed feelings, but it played into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he at least left it open as to whether or not that's accurate or not. Even though at the end everybody thinks that it is, and when Superman is doing his sun bath to rejuvenate, instead of having those first minutes or 2 minutes of Jor-El and Lara speaking to him, he has home movies
Smallville
from the Kent farm when he was a kid to kind of have him relax and all of that. So you're left with the idea that it's accurate and it's true. But it doesn't mean in Superman 2, which Cornsworth is contracted to do, that might not change. I mean, I don't know. So I was somewhat mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, Smallville flirted with that idea a few times over the course of its run. I've always viewed Jor-El, probably thanks to Superman the movie, Jor-El and Lara as very benevolent and caring that Superman did good things for the Earth. So that's my preferred take. I understood, as Triple D Comics said, I like to switch to the Kents. You don't get that moment if Jor-El and Lara are wholly on the side of supporting humankind.
Right.
So it felt like he made that change to get to that moment. And I get it. It's not my favorite, but I understood what he was trying to do.
I'm still holding out hope that it was doctored by Lex.
Me too.
See, that's the same thing I'm thinking. I kind of didn't like the Omni-Man switch that he was supposed to come and take over Earth. It's like he borrowed from Robert Kirkman. The Ultraman surprise, it's like he borrowed that from the boys with Homelander and Black Noir. I mean,
in the comics.
Now the Smallville parents, you had boy, his mama had a country accent, and I was like, wow, look at that, and it was legit. And I'm like, I like that. And the dad was Otis from The Walking Dead, and I'm like, another show that I like. That's kind of cool. But the switch on Jor-El and them, I do think that in if we get to, which I'm sure we will, something will be doctored with that. I hope.
Chris,
but if not, he still chose to be Clark.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Chris, bringing up back Otis from Walking Dead, I'm like, I'm sad again.
Yes.
If you haven't, it's a anyway.
Yeah, he got Otis.
Yeah. But man, I really struggle with it because to me, the Kents informed Clark on how to be Superman, and the Els informed Clark on how to be Superman. He's a man from both worlds, and to just, I think that's what made Superman whole, and to do that, to vilify them, and to disregard them at the end. I mean, with all the talk about James Gunn making this Superman an immigrant story, I just felt flat because as an immigrant, you bring your stuff from the native world into wherever you're going with you. You take it with you. And he just, nope. So I was like, that's just,
well, let me
left a
say,
sour note in my mouth.
Yeah, let me say something. I mean, I understand the immigrant thing, but it's very different than immigrants. I mean, the whole idea was acceptance, and I get that, and I think that's important. But one thing that how many of you guys have watched both seasons of My Adventures with Superman?
They did something similar to it, yes, I remember.
Yeah, so what happened there with Jor-El? Wasn't that this whole story? I mean, to me, he took that from My Adventures with Superman, at least that concept, where Jor-El wanted, Superman to help him, basically subjugate the earth. So, I mean, so to me, it's more, I don't know if it's the boys as much as something that already was done, in some respects. And even I didn't read very much of, Jonathan Kent's Superboy / Man book. I just didn't enjoy it, the stories when it started off. But I think when Jor-El came back with him, wasn't there some sort of an element of some sort of thing about being superior or something? I can't remember now because I only read a few issues of that. but that reminded me very much of my adventures with Superman
Yeah.
and the Jor-El during that time, who loved his son, and but originally was saying, hey, we should, we're super, basically, that type of thing.
Yeah, but
But I do think, I'll say it a little different than you. If you want to say that in the regular Superman lore, that Jor-El, through the visuals, or whatever you want to call it, that were in the crystal, helped Kal-El become or learn how to be Superman, I agree. I think the Kents are the ones that helped them become human, basically,
I
more
get
human than a
that.
lot of other people.
Yeah.
And that was the message, I think, was that, he came from somewhere else, potentially where they wanted him to subjugate everybody. But the Kents were the one that raised him and made him who he was. And that's what Jonathan tells him. He says, I don't care what your, Kryptonian parents might have had to say. It's your choice. We taught you,
Yes.
how we think you should be. So you make
Right.
your decision. Do you want to do that, or you're going to follow that? And he made the right decision, because they're
Right.
the ones that instilled in him. So to me, it was more like a parenting type of thing. We're parents. I remember when I brought my son home from the hospital and saying, what the hell do I do now?
Right.
And you kind of learn as you go along, and you try to instill in them, what you believe in terms of right from wrong. To me, that was the powerful story of it, because there's a lot of people, whether it's because of poverty or drugs or whatever, that their kids grow up without any kind of direction,
Mhm.
And here you see a situation where that could have easily happened to Superman, to Kal-El. Matter of fact, Superman Red's son is kind of that way, because he was brought up in a certain way, and he
Right.
had to learn
Mm-hmm.
the difference. Here, it's basically mid-America, type of stuff and all of that. Yeah. But he made the decision based on his upbringing and what he knew in his heart
No,
was right.
I get all that, because that's the movie. But I'm saying, as someone from coming from in it, as someone who's watched the movies, it's Superman. Because I mean, we often criticize certain things about how Superman's portrayed in the movies, that we criticize because it's not the Superman we know. Well, this is for me. Like, the Superman I know came from both worlds, and to present that in this movie in that way, I was like, couldn't in the movie they were showing that the message was damaged from his journey. Couldn't they have just made oh, it was there's a misinterpretation with the message because it was damaged, and
I don't agree with you, Lenny. I mean, I don't
they
think
should have
that
done
he's
something
I don't
like
think he's
that.
a
It was an
person of
easy
both
fix.
worlds.
Like,
I don't think he's a person of both worlds. I just don't. I never did. I mean, the reason he's from Krypton, that gives him the powers here under the Yellow Sun.
right.
He's basically more earthbound person than most people that live here.
I-
He's essentially
know,
a
because-
human being.
I know,
although
because
his
he spent most
physiology
of his
is not.
life here. I get that, but I'm just saying he still can't ignore his Kryptonian side, though. And now
I
Gunn's
think he
making him
ignored it for
throw it
years.
away.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Joe, because I know you're a big fan of Silver Age, and there are a lot of stories that connected very heavily to Krypton in the Silver Age, where he, would go back in time to meet his parents on Krypton, and
Yeah, or Bottle City of Candor.
But what
But
effect did they have on him? It was just recent with the crystals, and suddenly Jor-El is there directing him and all that. In the Silver Age, it didn't happen. He went back, and did that type of stuff. But when he came back, he essentially was Clark Kent. He was the human being. He was the guy from the farm.
I think it depends on what time you're consuming Superman media. I think early on, when he's first created, it was pretty obvious that Krypton was mostly superfluous. It was he was adopted and raised by this kindly couple, and he became Superman, and they just kind of tell the story from there on. I think they killed off his parents.
Yeah.
And then I think it depends on when you're reading the Silver Age. There was a lot of emphasis. The Superboy comics, obviously, a lot of emphasis on the Kents. Man of Steel, a lot of emphasis on the Kents. Superman the movie, Jor-El teaches him for about a decade. He goes in, so it really depends on what you're watching, what you're reading. And honestly, the fact that he had a fortress in this with robots who are, Kryptonian technology, clearly Krypton mattered in this film, and his parents mattered but only to a point, because it's obvious they gave him very little information. So I find this whole discussion like
but
pretty interesting.
me too. But I'm like, then what's Gunn's end goal in making that change? Because for
That
me,
scene,
it's like,
that
huh?
scene, he wanted
Was
to
that
show
it?
that
I mean,
scene.
he's building a
I
universe
think
though.
so.
He's building a universe though. You know
Well,
what I
but
mean?
he wanted to give an emotional scene
I
for the end of
know,
the film and show that
but
really what matters
why
most
not? By
is
not
his
by
humanity
I
being raised
know,
by his human
I
parents.
get
Yes.
that.
So,
Couldn't he
yeah.
just show also? Couldn't he just show the Kryptonian message and then next to it the video, the home footage? Why couldn't it be that?
Again, that's
You
a
know?
different way to go with it, and I don't have a problem with that. I think he really clearly wanted to make a statement. Superman is a product. He's
Yes.
the most human of all of us. That
Right.
was his speech at the
But
end.
but
And anything Kryptonian would have taken away from that.
there's beauty in making the most alien of us the most human of us.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I don't
I
disagree with
agree.
you.
And I
Yeah.
think we kind of lose that when you just forget that he was ever. I'm not saying we were forgetting, we're supposed to forget he's Kryptonian, but I'm just saying, just when you watch a movie, images are very important, and that image did not sit well with me at the end. It was
But
just
but Lenny, it was there because originally when he first in the very beginning of the movie when he's beat up and the robots put him in that chair so he can get the solar rays, you've got Jor-El and Lara there.
I know.
Then you got
Yeah.
the same exact scene at the end, but you've got the home movies from the Kent farm with Jonathan and Martha there. So essentially, your mind has got to say it's different. I see now that's who he is. That's the whole point.
I
And
know.
that's why
I
that's
get
why
that, but I'm
movie looks that
saying
way.
what the point is my problem.
Yeah.
That he's just
Then
all
he doesn't
human.
want it to replace it. He wants it to
to
live together with
to
it,
unite
to coexist with it,
the
and
two
unite.
pieces.
Yeah, I
The
get
two,
that.
the human piece and his Kryptonian piece made a bigger whole together.
I hear you.
But you can't have that in this movie because the Kryptonian piece ended up being something extremely
I
negative.
know, but that's the root of my problem.
I get
But
it.
we want to have the movie around.
Well, which
It's a
I
whole
don't-
different movie you're bringing up. Maybe
I don't
that's
think-
Superman too.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
see, I
but
don't
why
think-
though? I mean, this is my next snap. All right, this whole thing is my next snap for Dave. All right, so yeah, I'm just like,
I
Well,
hear
I
you.
don't-
why did it have to, like, I saw no value to it.
What?
I saw no value to it unless it as a device to make people pissed at Superman.
Well, see, I don't think he's disregarding his Kryptonian heritage. It's like the two people that
They
you
seem
love
like
the
it.
most in the world, you were just blindsided by something that you did not, that was not who you thought they were in your head. So
Mhm.
now all of a sudden you're like, well, these two people were not who I thought.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he's disregarding it, just in the moment at the end, he's just being more human. Yeah, I mean, he's always knows he's going to be Kryptonian. And I'm sure, like, Joe's saying, and Superman 2, they'll probably touch more on it. It's just, to me, it was fitting at the end that he could just look at his human side, and that's what made him happy,
And-
But I see your point.
But Chris, also, like, and again, I feel strongly about this because I've seen it
Right.
in Batman.
Twice.
I've seen, like, Martha Wayne, part of the Arkham family, so she's insane, and that's kind of stuff. Like, his parents are such, like, both Superman and Clark's parents play such a big role in their origin and who they are, right? I mean, Krypton blowing up, the death of the Waynes, it's core to their origin, and to just change it like that.
So Lenny, you and I will have a phone call later, because this is where, like, this movie can be enjoyed on a popcorn level.
These just a bunch of geek talk to me. Like, it's a good movie. Like,
I think if you wanted to look for certain political parallels, they exist, and I think that at the end does, and that's a whole other conversation, because I don't want to make this about
please,
that.
yeah. Yeah,
So
please
I'm
don't.
not going to.
No, I only brought that because my point that as immigrants, like we bring things like my family brought stuff here from the Philippines,
Mhm.
and I could. That's the whole point, to make
Yeah.
this country a melting pot.
Yep.
You know, just to throw like, okay, I'm just gonna be pretty fly for a guy now. You know,
But
Yeah.
no, you're acting like he disregarded everything, and he didn't. I mean, we mentioned he had the robots, he had the whole computer thing there, he had all this stuff there. That was all
yeah, but
Kryptonian.
that's just stuff like his
Technology
parents.
versus
Like
culture.
his parents is like.
But
Yeah.
the only thing he had in this movie from the parents was that first little like scene type of thing.
Mhm.
So I guess they could have went in a different direction. But my
Mm-hmm.
my feeling on this is, and I agree with Dave, this was important to what he wanted to bring out. And Superman's statement at the end, it's my humanity, it's my
Yeah.
greatest power.
Yes.
I mean, and so he tried to find a way to do that.
Feeding
And
into
I
that.
do believe
Yeah.
in my heart of hearts that the tape was doctored.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
if Luther can do all the stuff that he was doing, it's a cinch.
It's
'Cause
a voiceover change.
When the
Filter through the
when
engineer.
says, "Oh, I can get the rest of it," and she kind of gets excited over that. You don't know what she downloaded. You don't know what there is there.
Or what she altered.
And right,
Yeah.
exactly. So the point is, you don't know. So my feeling is that Superman 2 will resurrect Jor-El and Lara in some respect.
Yeah.
And perhaps
Especially after I just tweeted Gunn about it.
perhaps be central to Superman defeating whatever he's got to defeat in Superman 2.
I want to see more Bradley Cooper as Jor-El. So
I think
Yeah,
we will.
that's the thing too. Like I was expecting so much more with Bradley Cooper, and he's just like, a poorly recorded image. It's like,
all right, guys. So let's finish this up. We probably can go for like another 2 hours, especially with
just on this one topic. I can go all day.
I
can do this all day, Joe. I can do this all day. Oh wait, that's not a DC movie.
Pretty Fly is trying to do the most he can, saying, "Hey, I'm in LA. I'm in the movie business. Gunn, once you're done with Superman 2, let me take over, please.
Yes.
Let me be the next director."
I want to be a creative consultant.
That's also my fear. He's gonna George Lucas this because there's no one to question Gunn. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see. So I'll start off and I'll say that I gave this movie. It's not a classic. I agree. I mean, it's not a movie that people are going to go back and say, "Boy, wasn't that a great movie?" or something like like Superman the movie in '78. At least at this point in time, you never know what time will tell.
Absolutely.
But I gave it an 8 out of 10. And the main reason was I really enjoyed it. I agreed there were Silver Age proponents to it. I liked a lot of the undercurrent that there was with All-Star Superman. Essentially, I didn't go any further than that because I did feel that it was a bit disjointed, with respect to the story as it went along. And I do think that Gunn couldn't help himself. He had to put too much of that stuff in there. And you're right, Pretty Fly. The organic stuff was so much better. And you could throw a couple of these one-liners in, but there were just too many of them. And some of them were just really gratuitous to me. So I kind of gave it an 8 out of 10. I vacillated between a 7 and an 8, but I enjoyed it so much. I felt a 7 when I enjoyed the movie so much probably was not appropriate. So I went for an 8. Dave, what do you think?
The 10 scales, just to I don't wrap my head around it. I'd give it a B. After one viewing, I wanted to give this movie an A+ before I walked in, because anytime it's Superman, I want to absolutely adore it. And I liked it. I didn't love it. I'll see it again, because a second viewing I allow a movie to be what it is rather than what I hope it will be or expect it to be. I thought it was a good film. And maybe I'll think it's an even better film on my second viewing. But if it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, easy thumbs up, give it a solid B, maybe even a B+. But I did really want to like this more than
you wanted it to be more.
I did.
But Dave, I was a teacher for 9 years, and a B is equal to an 80. So I think that's 8 out of 10. Thank you, Dave.
There you go. That's a B-, Joe. An 80 is a B-.
Hey, you're hard.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. Went into the movie. First thing I told my son, I'm like, I want to love this movie. because of who it is. I mean, 100% want to love it. Halfway through it, I'm like, I'm not loving it like I wanted to love it. You know, some of it worked for me, some of it did not. You know, the pacing and stuff, which I don't know if maybe WB meddled in it, which messed the pacing up.
I hope not.
Yeah, it's the same thing I'm hoping. But yeah, I wanted to love it. If you know, we're ranking it, I give it a solid B, which is 8 out of 10. I'm kind of like you, Joe. I was like a C, but I'm like Mr. Terrific. I loved him. Guy
great.
Gardner loved him. Lois, you know, I'm just like, well, it's just raising my score up. But
yeah,
solid 8 out of 10. I give it a B.
Yeah, and I really went to an 8 once they showed the
Metamorpho.
the L's as being wicked. That just shot it right up. Pretty Fly. All right, Pretty Fly.
There we go.
Get ready.
I'm
and I don't
grading
want to
on-
hear the word Zack Snyder in this. Go
Oh,
ahead.
too bad, because I'm grading on the Snyder curve.
That's,
So
why did you
it's
say
an A+?
that name?
Just kidding.
So I mentioned earlier that I went to see this movie first with my comic book friend. He hated Zack Snyder, so I went to see it with him, and that got me like, riled up. But then I went to see it on the second viewing with my family, with my nephews and my brother and his whole family, and he had friends over with their family, and they loved it. So I kind of like, you know what? Some of the nitpicks I was willing to part with, because seeing people how much they enjoy DC property that hasn't happened in a really long time.
Yeah.
Maybe since Dark Knight, right? So I gave it a lot of credit for that. So I'm gonna give it, like 6.5 to maybe even 7 based on this conversation that we just had.
Wow.
That's a D, Joe. 65 is a D, buddy.
But
Yeah.
He
7's a
said a
C.
C.
What would have made it a 10 for me, though?
Was it
Somebody's
Zack
neck getting
Snyder?
broke.
Neck snapping.
Yes.
Murder.
No, when they showed Hall of Justice,
Mhm.
Batman was in there. He could have introduced Batman and Gunn kept it a secret, and he actually was in the movie and he was helping Mr. Terrific rescue Superman. That would have been a 10 for me, but that didn't happen.
Okay.
Well,
Well, let me end up
like
with
when
a couple
Batman
of
tried to
things.
murder
Number one,
Superman, Lenny.
Ooh, yes, that's a 10.
the estimate box office for this first weekend is roughly 120, 125 million, in that neighborhood. Okay. It is, if it continues in this route, it will clearly beat Man of Steel domestic of 291 million.
Inflation.
Now, the international is a little less. Man of Steel had a really big international, 390 or something like that.
Mhm.
But the one thing I wanted to mention was, with respect to having the serious end with Snyder and saying, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? The statistics right now show that the under 25 attendance is roughly 28% of the opening weekend,
Mhm.
which is really big.
Yeah.
Is really, really big. So I just wanted to leave you with that. So I think it bodes well, is my feeling. We'll see how Supergirl is in 2026.
Uh-huh.
And we have at least, it looks like a couple of TV shows coming our way, right?
The Green Lantern show,
which should be kind of fun.
Peacemaker season 2.
The Lanterns.
Should be fun. We'll see.
Mhm.
And we have the Lanterns, I think, coming up too. Those are the next two that are coming up. So I think that's going to be kind of cool, and we'll see how that works out. And hopefully he'll build on it, and it'll be really good.
Well, plus Superman's got some competition in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's going to probably take away from the box office.
Yeah, we can talk about that if you want after it comes out. I'm looking forward to that because it's a
DC
1960
Watch,
Silver Age.
Welcome to the new show, Marvel Watch.
Marvel Watch.
Silver Age, baby. Silver Age. When I saw the cars and everything, I said, yeah. All right, listen.
They're just filling
Dave,
Joe's wish list. I think that's what Marvel and DC are doing right now.
I've been writing letters like crazy. Finally, they're listening to me.
Those letters are paying off.
Threatening to sue.
Dave, Chris, Pretty Flight, thanks again. You guys are terrific. I love having these DC Watch conversations with you, and hopefully we'll do a few more coming up. Everybody that tuned in for the live stream, some people came and went. thank you. If you're watching it on the replay, thanks for watching on the replay. I just want to remind everybody that we do have a membership here, and the membership is $1.99 for the lower level, and everything goes to 2 charities. I don't keep a penny, though I give stuff away out of my own pocket to the members and stuff like that. But we have both St. Jude's Hospital and we have the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. All right. And with that, we'll say goodbye to everybody until the next time. DC Watch comes your way. Yeah. How's that? Okay.
Look up, guys. Look up.
Bye. Yeah, look up.